Everybody's loud right now. So let's lower the volume. I don't chase the outrage, I don't rent a side. I've lived long enough to know noise loves to lie. I talk about the days, I talk about the news, I talk about the things you don't get in sound bites or views. I'm not here to win you, I'm not here to scare. I'm just standing still long enough to notice what's there. Sane in Colombia, that's where I land, watching the world with both feet in the sand. Sane in Colombia, no script, no a man, a moment, and what I see. If it's worth thinking about, we'll think about it. Sane in Colombia. I didn't leave because I was angry, I left because everything got loud. Every voice trying to win the moment, nobody listening to the ground. I wanted space, not distance from reality, distance from the noise, pretending to be reality. I stepped off the treadmill, left the shouting behind. No flashing banners in my head, just space to think in time. They sell you urgency, they sell you fear. Every voice is louder, but nothing's clear. I don't listen to what's promised, I watch what happens. I don't follow tone, I follow patterns. No borrowed fear, no rented rage, just facts moving across the page. What's the bills? Choices form. Watch who bends, watch who storms. Signals matter, noise is cheap. What they say versus what they keep. This is Sane in Colombia, where the volume comes down. No talking points, no marching sound. I don't chase the noise, I don't rent my mind. I step back far enough to see the design. Coffee on the table, mountains in the frame. Thinking for myself, that's how I stay sane. Living sane in Colombia. 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 Sunlight spills through the cafe door. Mic goes live like it's done before. 9 years deep in these mountain towns, we brew the truth, not just sit around. I came for a visit, then stayed for the view. But the soul of this place, it just pulls you through. Mornings in Finlandia, nights in Salento. Life don't move fast, but man, it's full tempo. This ain't a pitch, it's real as it gets. From From lost bags to love and bureaucratic regrets. No script here, just the sound of real lives told live every week under Colombian skies. It's coffee time lived from the heart of Quindío, where the screen fades out and the real stories flow from expats who landed and locals who guide. We laugh, we vent, we cry, we ride. It's not about views, it's about the vibe. Just raw conversation, live and alive. Got folks tuning in from every time zone, asking what's it like to make this place your own. It's mango trees, it's rent debates, it's finding peace past the clickbait gates. Some days we talk visas, some days we just breathe and sip dark roast while the valley grieves through mudslides, marches, markets, and mess. We show up with stories, no more, no less. It's coffee time lived, not just a name on a screen. It's 9 years of mornings and everything between. No hype, just heart and a decent brew. A place for the honest, the warm, the true. Not selling dreams, just sharing the ride from right here in Quindío live. And if you've ever felt a little lost or wide awake at dawn, this show was made for you to lean on. We're not tourists here, we belong, we build in mountain towns where the air stands still. So bring your mug, your doubts, your days. We'll light them up in soft cafe rays. It's not a podcast, it's a porch-like glow. It's home and a headline, a yes and a no. It's coffee time live, come as you are, from my table in Colombia to wherever you are.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Armenia, Colombia. And I apologize, a couple of minutes late. I forgot I was brewing a coffee and I wanted to get it. Anyway, here I am. Hopefully it'll be a throat elixir for my never-ending sore throat. Okay, today, greetings and welcome. I will give the exchange rate and the weather. They'll just take a moment. Possibly Mike is going to call in from Panama and give us an update, what he thinks of it, what's going on, and answer any questions that you may have. And then I'm going to do the news headlines, which are all, they're almost entirely about Petro this week. And it's not just him, it's him, this headline, and then that headline, and I think there's like 4 headlines. So we'll cover that. Then we'll go to the main topic, prep, which will just be lay some groundwork about what I guess you'll say editorial. I'm going to talk about Ecuador, what's going on in Ecuador, and how it relates to Colombia. There's things brewing. So that's the plan for the day. Exchange rate currently it's 3671 basically. We can only It's going to get better. I'm telling you, it's going to get better. It may slide a little bit before it gets better, but it won't slide very much. I think by the time we get to March, it should be pretty strong for us, but who knows? Who knows? I keep trying to figure it out. I saw this on Facebook. I thought I would put it up. Hopefully Mike calls in. He didn't confirm. He said last week yes, but he didn't confirm. So I see this on Facebook, and it was at the airport in Medellin, and it says immigration line 9:15 p.m. today. What was interesting is I looked and looked and looked. I couldn't find a single female out of that massive throng of humanity there. I don't know. Can you see it? I couldn't find one. I'm looking at this. It was like, where's Waldo? I'm studying away. I'm looking for the striped shirt. Wasn't there. Why would so many military-aged men, why would so many men be flying into Medellin, I wonder? And that's why I tell you, Medellin doesn't represent actual Colombia. Becky, how are you? Good morning. What was it? Becky, you wrote me something that would be good to share. I forgot all about it till just now. Maybe make a note there. B-Nick, how are you? Buen dia. And let's see, did the highlights, did that. I don't know if Mike is going to call in, so I'm kind of in limbo here. I could go to some of my headlines. Let's see. All right. I'll start talking about some of the Petro headlines, and we'll see where we end up. Is that my list? Yeah. Mike decided he was frustrated with visas, and he decided to go to Panama, where it's like it's almost an automatic. And he was also worried because of how the exchange rate was going. And so, well, maybe Panama will be better. The downside is he was on his last go round for visas when he would have gone into resident visa. But by walking away, he has to actually, if he does decide to come back to Colombia, he's starting all over again. You have to be here for 5 years. And if you skip a visa like that, or if you're gone for a certain period of time, then you have to start all over again. So that time and grade doesn't count. So, but he seems to be pretty happy in Panama. He does say that it is more expensive, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure it's a nice place to be. Excuse me. Here we go. Yes, I had a gentleman come to my apartment, and that's right. He did my fingerprinting, saved me a trip to Medellin. He's a retired police investigator here in Armenia. Very nice man. You might want to post that on our Facebook page, Adventures in Grand Colombia. Somebody was asking me, and I didn't know in particular because I haven't needed the service, but I knew that if you go to a police station, 9 times out of 10, they'll be able to fingerprint you. All you have to do is print off the card or the paper off the internet for the FBI fingerprint. There's an actual form. And then you take 2 copies of that to a police station, or in this case, retired police investigator, and they can take those fingerprints, and then you send them in. You're good to go. Thank you, Becky. All right. So my first Petro headline. He was he was giving a little speech, and he made a statement that's it's all over social media right now here in Colombia. And he stated that those who steal cell phones do it out of love. And you can imagine this really pissed off a lot of people. He's being mocked mercilessly over something like that. And he tried to justify it, saying that the only people that are stealing cell phones are the boyfriends to these girls that they want to please, and they want to have a nice cell phone, and they can't afford to buy a cell phone, and so they're just stealing it out of love for the girl. It's just a romantic gesture. Yeah, so you can imagine, if you want a good laugh, and if you can translate, or if you understand Spanish, take a look at some social media around this, and it can get pretty funny. All right, but there's more. Petro had to delete an AI-generated video of alleged Colombian military personnel thanking him. I saw this a couple days ago, and there was something about it. It just didn't look right. It was too exuberant. It was, as most of you know, he did a 23% increase of the base salary. It's never been jumped that high. There was no justification for it. He found a legal loophole where he could kind of bypass how it's typically done, and he could do it by decree. And so he did it. And the majority of people seem to be upset about it because this is going to throw the balance off. What's going to happen here? We're going to lose jobs and all of this. It came from the whole spectrum. It wasn't rich people saying it. It was poor people were recognizing this. I saw a man on the street interview. It was in Spanish, but he was just walking up to people that were clearly not dressed like they were even middle class, asking them about it. And one, I think there were five. One said, "Oh, it's awesome," and the other four said they're really worried about the fallout from this. So apparently, put out some various videos. One in particular showing celebration and thanking him. There's another video I'll show you in a moment. There's another video that is a compilation, and it's mixed in with a couple nurse TikToks that are real, along with a bunch of other things that aren't. You'll see it. I'll show you in a moment. And the last one here on Petro, on the videos, there's a fake video of Petro teaching how to make money. It was allegedly created by AI. So in this video, he's explaining how to cash in doing something that's unethical or illegal. Now, I don't think anybody can say that maybe came from him. Maybe it was just inspired by his videos. It was a really well done one because it looks like him. He's standing behind a podium, and it's one of the best AI I've seen. It was very good. But let me show you the little video here of let's see. One I will show you. I think it's a poorly translated clip of it, and then I'll show you the compilation.
Excitedly shared a video where supposed soldiers from the National Army celebrated the increase in the living wage.
My brother, finally something fair! We risk it every day, and now it's worth it. A small salary, my people!
However, the excitement was short-lived. Several users quickly warned him that the video was not real, but a fake creation. And after realizing the mistake, the president deleted the post. Thank you, President Petro, coma!
And here I'll show you the compilation.
very few people trust. Very few people believe.
Listen, we just got paid our first salary as interns.
We plan to conduct an interview with every intern who's present in the room.
Me, how do you feel about this?
Multi-millions.
Hey, we're going to have a problem where we're not going to say where we stand.
I feel very happy. I feel like a millionaire. The truth is that I already feel fulfilled in life.
Excellent.
Excellent, girl.
Excellent.
Today I'm doing the best interconsultation analysis you've ever seen. Judah, who finally arrived. Mr. President, what message?
All right, enough of that. Yeah, it's that shows him, and I believe that was actually him and not AI, looking at this guy's cell phone as one of his political people, showing this compilation that was assembled out of a mixture of AI and a couple real TikToks. And it's all to try to change the concern about such a massive increase by saying, look, everybody loves it. Now, the main one that came out initially that was put up that he admitted to, showing a bunch of military thanking him and all of that, he took it down. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. I remember it. I saw it right after it came up. I got a little notification, and it seems to be scrubbed. I couldn't find it. But anyway, that's what's going on. And you're seeing AI being used for various things. Now I get to a couple topics that aren't petro. Let's see. Price of gasoline will drop by not $500, 500 pesos. Initially, they announced it was going to drop at 300, and now they say it's going to drop at 500 starting today. In case you don't know, gasoline here is handled differently. It's the only, well, it's almost the only, there's not many industries that the government will set prices on. Gasoline is because there's a situation where the people of Colombia own the gas or the oil. And so when they sell the oil, the formula of the price that gets sold for and how much goes into modifying the price for the people of Colombia. So there's a whole formula for it. And last 2 years, it just kept going up and up and up. And now it's settling back down. Of course, we'll probably see an AI video about that with somebody taking credit for it. But this is actually how it functions, so it's like, it's not my fault. It's institutional when it goes up, but yeah, it's because I'm doing such a good job when it goes down. All right. For those who say that there are no social assistance in Colombia, I show these every once in a while. Here's another one. How to access educational loan from the National Savings Fund. There is a National Savings Fund, and if you want to go to college or you're going to college, you have to get an account there, like a bank account. You just sign up for it, and then you just apply for the loan. You may need a co-signer, and with that loan, you get a line of credit, and it's established based on the curriculum you're taking and books and whatever. So it is available. Oh, I got another one here. Oh, yep. My last headline is sort of petro. This will be very interesting because Tuesday, in 2 days from now, this happens. Experts anticipate an asymmetrical meeting between Petro and Trump at the White House. The encounter will define the course of Colombia. This also comes into play in my topic today. Looks like Mike's not going to show up. Crap. He's probably watching, though. Come on, Mike. I left space. Just means we'll probably get done a little early today. All right. Yeah, when it says it's asymmetrical, it's because Colombia doesn't have, what is it, the cards? You don't have the cards? There's been a lot of problems not between Colombia, but between Petro and the United States. It's not new. It's been there forever. It goes back decades. Petro has a real problem with the United States. And he's been doing and saying a lot of things that are totally outlandish. And Trump is on this kick where we're not going to allow drug cartels to run countries. Because when the drug cartels run countries, they open the door for our adversaries to become part of that. That's what Venezuela mostly was about, because it was all full of Iranians and Chinese and Russians and whatever. Agree or disagree, that's the fact. That's what's going on. And so Petro was claiming that the United States was preparing to invade Colombia, which was just made up. Trump gave him a call, and immediately after he got that phone call, he stopped making all these crazy claims, and Trump had set up a meeting with him to come to Washington. Now, I suspect that this is going to completely hover around the extent of cocaine production that's been taking place in Colombia and how it's at an all-time high. And that Petro is not only not doing anything to stop it or slow it down, he's actually done a number of things to aid in its growth. And Petro denies it, and he says that he's destroyed more cocaine than ever's happened in history. It's kind of not proven out. And some of this spills over the border into Ecuador. So when I talk about Ecuador, think about that. It's a two-way street. But so this will be a very important meeting, because my guess is that Petro will come out of there with a way to make it appear that he's orchestrating something. And hopefully it'll mean that he puts pressure on the areas around Cucuta and the areas in Cauca that are basically become just totally overrun by narco-terrorism, by crooks, thousands of these criminal operations. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Or maybe Trump will get on him like he did Zelensky, and Petro will be all indignant and pissed off and just keep saying all kinds of crazy things. It's happened a couple times, and the court has actually put a gag order on him. What Petro has done is, I don't know if he gets drunk. He takes some kind of medication, some emotional stabilizing medication, or he gets drunk, or both. I don't know what. And he'll go on like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and he'll go into a rant. It could be on a radio show. X, he's good with X. He'll write 3 pages of crap on there, and it repeats itself, and it's really kind of crazy. It's not a good look. So we'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see how it turns out. All right. So those are my headlines. Did I get them all? I did. And my highlights. So main topic. Okay. So first, last week, Ecuador announced tariffs on Colombia. And Colombia didn't take it very well, because they've got a long history of cooperation. And especially recently, Ecuador, because of the craziness that's going on in Ecuador, they've been having a lot of brownouts. In some cases, though, more than brown out. They'll be out for a couple days at a time of electricity. And so Columbia can, they're connected, so Columbia can sell them power. And Columbia has been doing that. And they've been doing it almost to the detriment of Columbia itself, because in a few cases that I read about 3-4 weeks ago, they were selling electricity they shouldn't have sold. They should have kept for Columbia, and it caused some issues. Details don't matter, but Columbia said, you're going to tariff us where we're selling you electric to bail you out, and we're bailing you out because of bad decisions you've made. And so they took a burn to that, and they said, no more electricity. We don't have any to spare. So they've been cut off from electricity. And then a day later, Ecuador decided to, what was it? Yeah, pipeline. There's a pipeline that goes from Colombia into Ecuador. It's to the benefit of Ecuador, but Ecuador put massive fees on it. I forget the percent, but it's like 50% or something like that. Fees on the oil that passes through that pipeline for Ecuador. So it doesn't even make sense. But we got this tit for tat thing going on, and Ecuador is not really in a position, because the two things that they're trying to that they're coming out of as a result only hurt Ecuador. So yeah, I don't even know what the whole point was, because the tariffs that they put on Colombia, it's not like they put them on other places. And supposedly the reasoning was that the drug issues that Ecuador is dealing with are from Colombia. And yes and no. I don't know how much you know about it, how much you followed it. I mean, a quick history lesson. Yeah, Colombia is number one in the world for cocaine. Colombia is a big problem, particularly the last few years, because these groups have been nurtured, allowed to flourish, and they operate cross-border from Colombia to Ecuador. That's all true. On the other hand, Colombia's cocaine trade wouldn't exist if it weren't for actions Ecuador took in the beginning. See, originally, the cocaine was all in Bolivia. And so what Colombia did, what the narcos did, was they would buy it from Bolivia and they would have it trucked to Colombia because it didn't grow here. And the only way to truck it here would be through Ecuador. And so the government entities that would turn a blind eye and have the police turn a blind eye, the government officials were taking bribes to let it come through to Colombia. And that's how that drug trade began, and that's how it flourished. Then Colombia started growing their own, and we know what happened. We know all about the history of it. However, Ecuador have been the minor leagues for handling cocaine, not just from Colombia, but also from Bolivia, kind of as a clearinghouse. And when I lived there some years ago, these gangs were forming. They are now fully formed, and you have the financing and the brains of the outfit basically comes out of the Mexican cartels, and a lot of that's occurring here in Colombia. A lot of the cartel work or the criminal work, its main decision makers are in Mexico, the Mexican cartels, because they have so much money and influence, power. And so that's the state of things. So that's the backdrop of what I want to talk about today. And what I want to talk about here in a moment are my thoughts on what's happening in Ecuador. With my sore throat. So I wasn't originally intending to talk about Ecuador. I lived there for 3 years before moving here to Colombia. So none of this is abstract to me. It kept showing up on the edges of other things. I was paying attention to what was going on there just as I do here. Shipping issues, border activity, trade frictions, energy problems, different conversations, but the same country. When that happens often enough, you have to stop treating it as coincidence. I mean, years back, Ecuador barely registered unless you had a reason to be there. It had ports, it moved containers, but it stayed relatively quiet. Over time, the amount of cocaine moving through the country increased. Seizures went up, violence followed the routes and the money. It wasn't evenly spread, it concentrated where movement mattered, such as Guayaquil. What stood out after a while was how often prisons were mentioned. It started as, I think it was 2016 was the first prison riot I was aware of. But it's like, oh, that happens sometimes. You didn't think about it. But then you start to see a pattern. At first it seemed like it was about overcrowding, and out of that was disorder. But at some point it became clear that decisions were being made from inside the prison. People outside were taking direction from people locked up. That's a late stage problem in the scheme of things. By the time it was visible, it had already been there for a while. It already metastasized. The public events came later: escapes, coordinated attacks. You may recall the television station. Those moments didn't change how things were operating. They exposed it. After that, the state spent its time responding. You had military deployments. It did slow activity in some places. Of course, there were retaliations, there were a couple assassinations. It didn't really change the underlying flow of the cocaine and the growth of these gangs. Once Ecuador started carrying that level of pressure, it didn't stay contained. Southern Colombia was already carrying armed groups and coca production. Putumayo, Nariño, those areas, in Cauca, those areas didn't suddenly transform. They just absorbed more movement, more sale. Sorry. It's things happen, it gets distracting. Okay, so you heard less about explosions and more about who decided what could move and where. That kind of shift can sneak by you. It's hard. These things, it was like the frog in the water, the telltale signs have been there for years, and it keeps escalating, but there are these small increments where, unless you're really paying attention, they're hard to notice how much it's growing. And I've talked to a number of expats that have lived there and just woke up one day and looked around and saw assassinations and power outages and crime everywhere. Except it didn't happen like that. When I was living there and doing videos going back 11 years, maybe, I talked about it openly. I said where I thought it was going. I predicted this. This isn't to brag. I'm just saying the information was there and available if you just would look at it. Most expats didn't want to hear it. Some denied anything was happening at all. Some got pissed at me. I got a fair amount of hate mail over any video where I would talk about it, where I would talk about crime and the escalation of crime, but mostly the fact that they weren't seeing the crime that was there. You had to actually look to find it because it was kind of covered up. So now we've got the relationship between two governments, Ecuador and Colombia, showing the strain. We got the tariffs that appeared, the pipeline transport fees jumped, electricity exports were cut. Those aren't symbolic gestures, they're practical tools used when coordination breaks down. Pressure moved from security channels into trade and energy. The electricity issue matters because it explains a lot of Ecuador's behavior. Ecuador borrowed heavily from China to build 6 large hydroelectric dams. They went into debt for billions of dollars. Only one ever came close to producing what was promised. The rest suffered from design problems, structural faults, operational failures, chronic underperformance. There's one currently that's usable. A number of them, it's been determined that they're not even repairable. Not the only thing, I would say the largest issue with these dams is the poor concrete structure. It was inferior concrete usage, full of cracks, crumbling. It's just a disaster. However, the debt's still there. The power never showed up, but they still have to pay for it. That left Ecuador short on reliable energy generation after spending billions of dollars. When drought cycles hit, which is every year, there is no margin. Rolling blackouts followed. Industry slowed. The state had to look outward for electricity, and Colombia became part of that picture. Power flowing across the border wasn't a favor, it was a temporary fix for a long-running failure. Once electricity starts moving under stress, it stops just being an engineering issue. It becomes leverage. That's why energy shows up alongside tariffs and pipeline fees. Ecuador pushed outward to compensate for internal failure. Colombia responded by deciding how much exposure it was really willing to accept. Colombia's behavior has been consistent if you watch actions instead of statements. Publicly, it points to seizures and operations. Diplomatically, it keeps its channels open. On the ground, borders are treated as friction points that need constant management. That suggests an expectation that this condition will persist rather than resolve cleanly. What's different now is that many of the same expats who dismissed the warning signs are leaving Ecuador. The tone changed once daily life started reflecting what was happening underneath. At the same time, the businesses that sell the idea of moving abroad kept selling Ecuador as if none of this existed. To this day, crime figures climbed sharply, extortion became common, kidnapping rose, whole neighborhoods changed their character. But these things rarely showed up in any relocation pitches or tourism messaging, even as they were reshaping daily life for people actually living there. None of this arrived all at once. It shows us incremental, small adjustments that repeat and grow. So, I don't know what more to say about Ecuador. I didn't go into a lot of specifics on it because I will assume that because it's multifaceted and you can read the headlines. I just wanted to give you my take on it. I was asked just the other day about what's your opinion of Ecuador? What do you think if I went to live in Ecuador? What do you think? And my answer, I thought about it before I replied back, and my answer is very different than it would have been just a year ago. Although I saw these things happening, you can see it, you can predict it, you can feel that but it's kind of like the exchange rate. You don't really know until you see it, until it's actually happening. And I kept hoping that the moves Ecuador is taking at some point would kind of push the tide back. It feels like it's almost gone too far. I'm not saying it has, but it's not a good situation. So I found my answer. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there now. I wouldn't even go to visit right now. It's kind of like you wouldn't go to Venezuela when things were so bad. And now it's like Ecuador. I feel kind of the same. There's areas of Mexico I would never consider going to. And it's a shame because Ecuador was on a path and it's been completely derailed. And it's been let down by people that were bribed. That's what it boils down to. I mean, it kind of goes back to the original sin of this drug business. And it used to really aggravate me because I had studied the topic, and I would have people say, this is all, when I lived there, this is all Colombia's fault. Ecuador is completely innocent in this. And it was like, what are you talking about? It wouldn't even imagine if you went back in time and those officials were not bribable. And so those trucks could not come from Bolivia to Colombia. They would have had to find another way. They would have had to airplanes, maybe. You can't carry anywhere near as much with airplanes. It would have slowed down, possibly ended. It's certainly easy to see airplanes on radar and target them. Where trucks, it's very difficult because you're just blending in and you're relying on checkpoints. And if those checkpoints are bribed and they're letting everything slide through, it matters. It makes a difference. So where would this drug trade have been? Would there have been a Pablo and all the other issues if Ecuador had not permitted the trade to begin? So, of course, you can't just put it all on Ecuador. What I'm saying is that Ecuador is not squeaky clean in this. They've been partners in crime from the very beginning. People of Ecuador, I'm not saying that. I mean, just like the cartels here aren't the people of Colombia. It's something else. And I don't know. I can love or hate what's going on in the U.S. This direction that it feels like Marco Rubio is pointing to. It feels like it's his influence. I hope it has good effect. I hope that they're able to beat these cartels back and maybe even out of existence. Sadly, it's going to have to take place in Mexico. And I don't know how they're going to go about that, if they can, if it will ever happen. But it needs to take place here. It needs to take place in Venezuela, Ecuador. And it's funny how it all began in Bolivia, but they're the smallest piece of the puzzle these days. Anyway, that's my view, and I'm sticking to it. I don't know what your opinion is. You may think I'm crazy. I pinned it up there. It says, send me a video clip. You can, I'm told it doesn't work on your phone, so it has to be on a laptop or a desktop, but you can send me a video clip up to 1 minute expressing your opinion. Or anything at all. So feel free to use that. Do you have any questions? I debated whether I wanted to do this topic or not, but I think this latest, we're going to tariff, we're going to shut off the electricity, we're going to put fees on pipeline, this back and forth thing that's going on, and with the visit up to Washington, all of that stuff that's kind of coming to a head in the last 2 weeks. I thought people that are reading the headlines, maybe they didn't have context, so I wanted to apply some context to it. Plus, I've got a fair amount of people that watch that are in Ecuador, and I'm curious to know what you think about this. The people that I personally know in Ecuador weren't really aware of what was going on around them. They were seeing everything as one-offs. All right. Anything else? Any comments? Questions? We're going to end it here. Give you a minute. And then if I don't get any question or comment, we'll just wrap it up for the day. And I'll see if I can get Mike here for next week. Last call. All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I'm very curious what you think. Maybe today's topic was pretty heavy. But if you're living here or you're thinking about living here or you're thinking about Ecuador, I think it's important you know what's going on. It's not, life isn't all rainbows and unicorns or whatever it is. Sometimes life can be pretty serious. And these are things to be aware of. Now, in the coffee region, I'm not going to say we're totally immune from this, but we kind of are. We kind of are. But, you know, everything that goes on in Colombia has effect on us, has effect on the exchange rate. Okay, Becky, thank you for the info. You're welcome. I hope it's useful. And didn't mean to scare anybody, but, you know, we're all adults here. You deserve to know. And with that, I'm going to end it. I will see you next week. Ciao.
Wow.